Hi, everybody. Welcome to Seize Now, a podcast dedicated to a comprehensive view of healthcare. I'm joined by my friend and mentor, Dr. Eric Liu. Eric, what are we doing? What are we doing here? What is this?
Well, as you know, nowadays healthcare is complicated. Healthcare is kind of failing us in many different ways, even with all these amazing technological things that are coming through. But the system isn't working well. And one of the things that we've really lost, unfortunately, is how important it is just to have good preventative health. And I started the whole SEAS program last year, in conjunction with the Healing Net Foundation in order to get back to the basics. And what I tell everyone is there are only four things that you can control, like really control.
Mhm.
You can control how well you sleep, how well you eat, how well you exercise, and how good your spirits are. And getting back to the basics, I think, is so very important because everything's so complicated. And nowadays, things are so fake.
Yeah, yeah,
But C's is real. And I want to get back to what's real and get back to things that work and get back to things that really help people. And that's why we're here today.
gotcha. So I was often told you can't really control for environmental factors. You can control only your output, and that's I'm guessing what exactly you're getting at here is these are all actions that we as individuals can take in order to affect our healthcare in positive ways.
That's exactly right. So let's just start with sleep, for
Sure.
example. So sleep, is seems obvious.
Yep.
Every organism that's ever existed on this planet ever has to have some form of sleep. And yet we're terrible at it,
Hmm.
right? It is, talk about epidemics or pandemics or whatever you want to call it. The loss of sleep and the loss of quality of sleep is affecting so many people. Everyone in this country and maybe around the world is complaining of fatigue all the time. People are worried about how their health is. People are worried about how their, memories are and stuff like that. Well, it turns out a lot of people just don't do the right things because we have these tiny little supercomputers in our hands all the time. And even just taking the time to be bored or to take the time to just look outside and walk around without a machine hanging off of your hands
Hmm.
is a little unusual nowadays. And so, just to get back to the sleep thing, if you're always looking at your device and you're looking at blue light until you think you're supposed to go to sleep, that's not really peaceful, right?
Sure. Sure.
And and I studied it, in the little. I'm no expert, but the little I studied was actually very self help motivated because when I was young as a resident, I could not sleep. They did not allow me to sleep.
Yeah.
My job forced me to not sleep, and it was terrible. And it wasn't until I recognized the value of having, and I know this sounds stupid, but just like a nice bed, good habits, and prioritizing sleep. I will tell you, every day since my children were born and they could speak, I asked them, how well did you sleep last night?
Sure.
And that's something that's very important.
Hmm.
And so that type of thing is what I'm trying to get back to and trying to just demonstrate the importance of, so that people can understand, how it's been adulterated, really, and almost poisoned by our modern society. Now, to get a little bit to get back to what you're talking about the food. I think a lot of people recognize that food is becoming a challenging thing. Turn on the TV, right? Another device. And how many food commercials are there on sports events or just, regular
You
TV
don't you
shows?
you don't want to go to Applebee's or Chili's right now? You don't want to do that?
Well, it is pretty tempting. It is pretty tempting.
They make the food look
Right.
good.
And the question really is, what are they putting in the food?
Yeah.
And it's not like they're doing anything intentionally, but you've got to transport it 1,000 miles to get someplace. And back in the day where you could just, reach under a chicken and grab an egg and have it for breakfast that morning, those days are gone.
Mhm.
Right. Classic example. You go to your grocery store now, right? And you look at the vegetables around. And those tomatoes are not real, right? That color is kind of fake because they've added whatever chemicals it takes in order to turn it red. And everyone will tell
Tomato
you,
growth hormone.
kind of, right? Kind of. We do it to humans nowadays. Why
Sure,
not do it to
sure. Why not to
tomatoes?
tomatoes?
Yeah. And so we have unfortunately made things so fake that we have lost things like the flavor. All right, let's just start with flavor.
Sure.
Right. So I started, and I'm no farmer. I kind of wish I was, but I grow my own tomatoes. I come home from work. You and I have been working a long day. I will literally just grab some of those cherry tomatoes off of the plant, walk in and eat them because the flavor's so rich and so just genuine and real. Whereas if you get some of these things from the grocery store, they almost have no flavor
Sure.
anymore. But the things that go along with the flavor are, how about those antioxidants, or how about those things that tomato made in order to fight viruses to survive. So the quality of the food is becoming a big, big deal. And the very classic example is gluten, right? So people are eating a lot of gluten just because that's just what we eat, and a lot of people feel sick. And there are people who have real celiac, in which it really causes terrible pain and inflammation, and there's a lot of people who just have sensitivities to it.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of the people, especially who are parents now, and see how many of the children have sensitivities to food. I mean, when we were kids, how much peanut butter did we eat?
I mean, anecdotally, we ate quite a bit, but my brother and I were really, really picky eaters, so that's not
Tub,
really surprising.
but
Yeah.
but when we were kids, people ate tubs and tubs of
Tubs of
peanut
it, yeah,
butter,
yeah.
right? It was standard.
Sometimes you didn't have ice cream, so you ate peanut butter instead.
That's right, exactly. But it was a very common food, and very few people had allergies. I mean, people did, but very few people had allergies. Now, I think a third of kids have some kind of food sensitivity to something,
Hmm.
and it just goes to show you that, is it that are we mutating in one generation? Probably not. But is there something that's changing
About the
in
way that the food is
the way the food
produced.
is produced, the way
Yeah,
it's shipped, the way it's moved, the way it's grown, the way it's all the things? And that's some of so those are some of the things I worry about. And so the quality of the food, and I'm not saying you can't, go out to eat. I mean, you should go out to eat,
sure.
but do we cook enough of our foods? Do we use the whole foods, that we gather in
Are we
order?
conscientious about the types of foods that we're getting when we're out and eating at a restaurant? Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah.
Because it's so easy.
Hmm.
It is so easy to go out now. It is so easy to pick up your supercomputer again, and then just type something in, and then all of a sudden you have a huge meal in front of you.
Yeah, more power than NASA had when the first moon landings happened, and yet we DoorDash with it. It's kind
That's
of
right.
funny.
That's right.
So the C's is an acronym: uh, sleep, eat, exercise, and spirit. And these are just two of the examples of what those acronyms are supposed to be addressing as a lifestyle and healthcare initiative that people can take uh, and and control their own outcomes with. This is basically a guidebook for people to take what they can and do with that something that will positively affect their health care. So, getting good sleep, making sure that they're getting good food, making sure that they're exercising, making sure that they are, addressing their spiritual, mental health needs. Um, so, what was it that brought you to a place that you recognized that this was something that was needed, that was necessary? You're a fully trained oncological surgeon. This is probably the height of where medical technology is currently being used in a regular basis is with you in the operating room. What is it about the C's program that initially brought you to a place that you were like, this can't be just on the advanced providers. It's got to be something that is multifaceted.
Well, just as you said, Will, I have a very narrow niche, and I'm very specialized in an unusual kind of a cancer. And what I realized after all these years was that basically everything was up to me as far as the patient care goes. And I'm not saying, that I controlled everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I kind of controlled everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether they had surgery, whether they had their shots, whether they had their scans, how to interpret those scans, what their lab draws were, how many times we stuck them for their blood. So what I started to realize was that it it only took me about, I don't know, 45 seconds to decide what to do once I had all the information.
Mm-hmm.
But the patient was just frantically, like, so nervous, which is okay, that's normal, but they couldn't control anything. They were literally, I hope this doesn't sound terrible, but they were kind of wasting all this emotional energy
Hmm.
on something they could not control.
Sure.
And so one of the things I started to counsel patients on was like, you have to just trust me. Just know that I'm going to try my very, very best to take care of you because you can't control it. Because people would ask me, oh, do I need my bloods drawn? Do I need a scan now? And I would say, no, no, no. And I would explain these things.
Hmm.
And I would say, remember, I can't make a decision if I don't have the information. But once I have the information, I can make a decision very quickly. You, on the other hand, can just worry all the time
Sure.
about the unknown. And so what I tried to say is, okay, how about this? Let's make a deal. You have faith in me and trust that I'll do my best to take care of you by controlling all the bloods and the operations and procedure that you need. And you promise me you'll enjoy the life that I'm working so hard to help you with.
Sure.
And so one of the things I decided was the things that they could control, right? I can control those things, but what they could control was how well they slept, how well they eat, how well they exercise, and the feelings and the spirits that they had.
Yeah.
And so putting them all together, then I actually realized what I was actually trying to do was to give control back to the patient,
Hmm.
right? And I know we talk about patients and doctors and things like that, but really it's a person, it's a human being
Yeah. Yeah.
with an illness. And I wanted them to recapture being a human being rather than just being a patient all the time. And particularly in our field, right? I mean, you've now become quite an expert in neuroendocrine too at this point, Will.
For my part.
For your part, exactly, right? Is that patients actually can do very, very well. They can live for a long time. And, can I promise them how long they'll live? I can't promise anyone how long they'll live,
Sure.
right? I mean, you never know what's going to happen, right? Which is why it's so important to seize the day, seize now,
Sees now.
seize be here, right? That's the whole point of the title, right? And so, what I wanted people to understand is I work hard so you can spend time with your family,
Hmm.
so you can watch, have a grandchild or go to a graduation or go to a wedding or whatever it is you need to do. And so I tell people all the time, there are two things that I want to do. I want to increase your quality of life and I want to increase your quantity of life in that order.
Yeah.
Because again, don't know how long you're going to live. But if
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
make every little day a little bit better based on symptoms or health or anxiety or worry or whatever it is, then that's something I would like to accomplish. And that's why giving C's to the patient as a framework to work off of has been so powerful. And I'd like to share because that is something they can control and
Sure.
that is something that's meaningful to them.
No, that's huge. Having some kind of directionality. We talked before camera started rolling. We talked a little bit about the feeling that patients get when they don't have direction. When they don't have a direction, they worry, they obsess. Like there are few things that I can think of that are quite as devastating as hearing the words "you have cancer." And while not all cancers are created equally, and you might get X amount of years from one and substantially less from another, there's that word is so emotionally loaded that just hearing it can completely alter how you see yourself, how you see life, how you see other people. It's unbelievable how devastating that word can be, and not having some kind of a direction to move forward with, something that you can do, like expectation management. I think is something that's really really important, in general, but especially for people undergoing cancer treatment. Like telling them nothing is far worse than telling them something that gives them a timeline, even if the end of that timeline is something very very terrible. And you kind of choose, like, would you rather have 5 months of quality or 10 months of just agony? I kind of think that I know which one of those two things I would hope that I would choose, although I've never been in that situation. So having something that you can concretely give to patients and say, these are things that you can do. I will take care of the technical stuff. I need you to take care of these things, because between the two of us, hopefully we can give you whatever time you have remaining and have that time be meaningful time.
Yeah,
So,
that's a fantastic summary of it. And that is the principle of it because, and I know this sounds obvious, but the number one risk for death is life, right?
nobody gets out alive. Nobody
That's
gets out
right.
of life alive. Yeah,
That's right.
100%.
That's exactly right.
100%.
And so then, so once you have, and so for me, I like to think I'm relatively young. I'm relatively healthy. I try to, it's
Guess
a,
his age. Seriously, guess right now. Guess his age.
yeah,
You're wrong.
that's,
You're wrong. You are. Just guess his age.
yeah, just the same age as the gray hairs I have, which is a blessing. Again, a blessing. Um, but I never, having worked in this now, and you and I have spoken at length about this,
Mhm.
is that you learn to appreciate the things that are happening because you never know what's going to happen, right? I have unfortunately had to take care of, you take care of old people who get cancer, which is kind of the usual thing.
Mhm.
But I've had to take care of young people with cancer, and we've had to bury some young people, and it is devastating to
Mhm.
see that, right? It is devastating to see that, and so I feel extremely blessed to have good friends and an amazing family, a wonderful spouse, children that are growing and healthy. But I just worry about these things that can happen,
Mhm.
um and so for me, seeing it every single day, what I've decided is like, well, I'm going to try to live my life as genuine as I can. I am going to, yes, we work really hard.
Oh yeah.
We work really, really hard. And there are some days when I'm like, you know, should I really be doing this? If I really have a limited amount of time on this earth. And for me, and I think for you too, I think we can vouch for each other, is that that provides meaning for us, right?
Mhm.
Caring for others is what we do. It is within our nature. And so when we do these things, it means a lot to us. And so those are the kinds of things. So that would be the spirit sport of sugar,
Mhm.
right? What is it that you find meaningful? Yes, it's wonderful for me to, sit at the piano and play and sing and stuff like that, which I really love to do.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'm not sure I want to be a professional dueling pianist, right? I'm not sure
Yeah,
that's
let's
exactly what
cut
I
that
want.
at amateur dueling
That's
pianist.
right. I'm an amateur dueling pianist, but it is super, super fun and it's meaningful to have those things together. But what really provides meaning to me is being able to help others and help them, you know, do the things that they want to do.
Mhm.
And that's kind of that's what it means to me, right? And so every day is important. Every day is a blessing. You really learn not to sweat the small stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
right? I mean, we had this conversation actually just a couple days ago. It's not that I'm not perfect by any means, right? But when people say, why is Dr. Lou not flappable? The reason is because it can always be
Can
worse.
always be worse.
That's how I think of it. It can always be worse. So whatever it is, there's no need to fight. Some things you got to fight for,
Yeah.
and some things you just don't have to fight about. And that's kind of how I feel about it, and that's my approach to it. And that's even when I take care of when you and I are together, right? Even if we have a minor disagreement, and you know, you have a good idea, and then I just think that it's stupid, right? Which is not very common, to be totally honest. We'll pick our battles, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
pick our battles, and that doesn't happen that much with us. I know that, but it happens all the time in every couple, every
Are
parent,
you calling
every
us a couple?
yeah. Well, we're getting
He
there.
could do
We're
worse.
getting older. We're getting older.
Ha!
Yeah. But
Gonna Great Gardens the crap out of some stuff
that's
eventually.
right,
It's gonna be
exactly.
great.
But it's what's really very important, right?
Yeah.
And those are the important things, and that's why we're starting this, because we're trying to share with others, because we know that people are struggling with their wellness, people are struggling in their relationships, people are struggling with their food, people are struggling with their sleep, people are struggling. You're told, oh, you need to go to the gym and you need to exercise and you need to do all these things, but how do you actually do it?
Sure.
How do you get there, right? You get all these mixed messages from modern society. In fact, none of it actually works. So now, how do you make it work for you? And so one of the things that I think that's special about this program, and I want to give Will all the credit for setting all these things up and figuring all these things and how to do these things, because what we're trying to do, the good that we're trying to do, is trying to share this. And And what's really important is the integration of all of it, right? None of them works very well individually, right? You can exercise and go to the gym all you want, but if you're not eating well, that exercise, you can attest to this better than I
Mhm.
can. If you're not eating well, you're not sleeping well, you're not going to get the full benefit
Yeah, yeah,
of it,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Right. And then ultimately, you want to do all those three things so that you can live the life that you want
Mhm.
to do and still be strong and not be weak and not being able to, spend the time with the people that you love or the things you love to do.
Well, when you came up with the C's program, you had a very sort of distinct idea of what you required out of a program that was going to address things that patients and beyond patients anybody could do. And I like that you had a sort of a physical idea of it. You likened it to a stool or a chair. So a stool with three legs is generally less stable than a stool with four legs. So you have, or a chair with four legs. So you have, four pillars to this program. If you're doing one of them and you're doing it well, but you're not doing the rest of them very well, then you're getting, maybe 25% of the benefit that you could be getting. Like, when I first started lifting weights, I recognized that I had to make sure that I was eating correctly to make sure that the weight that I was lifting, the muscle stimulation that I was generating, had the correct amount of nutrition to be able to elicit the type of response from my body that I wanted it to have. I also needed to give my body rest in order to have time to use that nutrition appropriately in coordination with that stimulation. So it was, I need to stimulate by going to the gym and exercising. I need to get myself the proper nutrition by increasing the amount of protein, by making sure that I had an idea of what my caloric needs were. And then I needed to rest appropriately for the type of adaptation that I wanted in my body and for um, the, uh, my age basically at that point in time, because I didn't start lifting weights until I was in my 40s. So I can't, I'm not, I don't, I'm completely natural for the lifetime. I mean, it's not hard to look at me and think that I'm natural. Yeah. But no steroids. I'm not an advanced adapter to that kind of stimulation. So I needed to make sure that I had those three in line. And then I also had to make sure that I was in a place that was mentally healthy enough that I could continually show up at the gym without any kind of stoppage in the consistency, because these things are all built off consistency. One night of getting exercise, the appropriate rest, the appropriate nutrition, and sitting down with friends and family to fulfill yourself, one day of that is a good thing, but it's not going to make any kind of real marked change in your life. You need that kind of consistency, and that's something that I think that's really really important about any kind of program, is that you follow it with some kind of consistency. But the physical thought of the four pillars, if you're doing one of those pillars, you're only getting a limited amount of value out of that, even if you do that one thing very consistently. So I like the idea of having all four of them in a program that is something that can be, one, approachable, two, something that people can do, three, something that people can adapt to their own individual needs. Because my needs as a 45-year-old uh, are, a generally healthy 45-year-old, are much different from a 67-year-old cancer patient. Very, very different. And what they need to be able to do is going to vary very greatly from me, even though there will be similarities between the things that we all can get out of this program that you've come up with.
Yeah, and that's a really great point, Will, and thanks for putting it that way. But it's a little bit like what we do for a living, like taking care of neuroendocrine patients,
Mhm.
right? A lot of people say, they clump these diseases together. So you have breast cancer, or you have lung cancer, you have neuroendocrine cancer, or just cancer in general, right?
Mhm.
All right. So even for neuroendocrine, the one thing and you've seen this now, that I really feel strongly about is that every individual person is different.
Yeah.
And I know it's important to do clinical trials and look at the evidence and look at the scientific research. Absolutely. It's so important. But ultimately, there is no clinical trial for, the person sitting across the desk from me or the
Yeah,
person
yeah,
that's on
yeah.
the operating table for us, right? We have to do what's best for that person with the experience we have and the judgment we have, right? And so, as you said, a 45-year-old man versus a strong, healthy bodybuilder versus a 68-year-old, maybe frail from the disease,
Mhm.
are going to be very different. And so
Yep.
you have to individualize everything. And that's what I've learned from neuroendocrine. And you just can't box it up
No,
and you
no.
can't put people in the box. You want to free them from the box.
My wife loves to say that the study doesn't matter to the individual. The
That's exactly
like,
right.
we take the aggregate and then look at the numbers and try to make, recommendations based off of that. But there's that individualized humanist factor that's so unbelievably important for that person
And it's
specifically.
hard, Will. That's the whole thing. It's
Hmm.
hard because that takes a lot of judgment.
Hmm.
It takes a lot of wisdom. It takes a lot of experience. And it's easy just to read a paper and say, okay, well, this works or this doesn't work. When we all know, well, it does work kind of for some people, but there are side effects and it may affect people this way and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So once you start to get into the nuances of things, it's easy to make it easy.
yeah,
It just doesn't work that well.
yeah.
It's hard to make it hard. And it takes a lot more energy. It takes a lot more work. And you got to roll up your sleeves and do it. But ultimately, it's going to be better for that individual person.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how I feel about it.
No, that's 100%. That's 100%. So going into what we're doing with this podcast, this is about presenting to not only cancer patients that are the bulk of your practice, but to anybody that is looking for a compass or a roadmap towards some kind of better health outcome, uh, whether that be a 45-year-old that is generally healthy, or the 67-year-old cancer patient. Like these are ideas that very easily move between populations, not necessarily just patient populations, just populations in general. These are things that can be approached by just about anybody, and that's something that you've had in mind. I'm hoping from somewhere very close to the origin of this idea.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Again, as I said before, every organism that's ever been on this planet needs to sleep, needs to eat, needs to move, and needs to interact with their environment and their loved ones, or that type of thing, right?
Amoeba love.
Well,
Amoeba love.
you know, the amoeba kind of form together, form a community. We don't understand it, but they do. And so those are the only four things, right? But it's the integration of all of them. I mean,
Yeah.
we said it multiple times, and everyone needs to do that. And so, just for example, you were a wonderful participant and a invited speaker to one of our C's programs. As our pilot project this past year, we had four C's events,
Hmm.
seminars essentially, on each of the pillars, and we had an amazing response to it
Hmm.
because it sounds so basic. I mean, obviously, you need to sleep well and eat well, exercise well, and have good spirits. Duh.
It's easy to intuit that, yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah,
you know,
exactly. Right.
I feel like there were lessons that could be taken from each one of those. That, like, I got the most value out of the sleep, one. There weren't a ton of changes that I made, but the one or two changes that I did made a huge impact. Like I remember talking about, um, if you're struggling with getting woken up in the middle of the night and then struggling to fall back asleep. I would just lay in bed and hope that I would get back to sleep. And of course, like, the brain starts working. I start thinking about the day prior or the day next, or or just stupid thoughts. And nothing that you could really like. I could probably make great science fiction out of some of the thoughts that I had at 2 a.m. after not being able to get back to sleep. But one of the pieces of advice that I really liked was get up, go find a spot in the house that's comfortable, but not so comfortable that you're going to fall asleep there. Take your mind off of trying to get back to sleep. And then in an hour, try going back to your bed and laying down and closing your eyes and going back to sleep. And the few times that I've had since that seminar, that has been a real kind of almost a game changer. Like, I
Mm.
don't lay in bed anymore. I get up, I go find myself a comfortable place somewhere in the house. I relax and do something that I don't have to put a lot of effort or energy into mentally. And an hour later, I go back to bed, and seemingly it has worked reasonably well. And I'm pretty excited about it. So that's anecdotal. That might not work for everybody, but in my case, I got something out of one of the seminars, and it was very valuable to me. And if people can take one or two things per seminar and incorporate that in a meaningful way, I think that that's very, very valuable.
Well, I love that because you made it real.
Yeah, yeah.
You made it happen, and you made it happen right now. And because you changed it now, it's now improved. Again, like we don't know how much time any of us has on this
Hmm.
earth. It has now improved the time that you have from this point forward forever,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that's what I really love about it. And so, just as you said, what we discovered, it wasn't just about the patients who were benefiting, but then it was about the caregivers, and then it was about the family members and something they had learned, and they started to spread it around. And people, I don't know how many people have watched those videos, but a lot of people have watched those videos, and I hope everyone has gotten a little bit out of it.
Hmm.
And it just goes to show how the general health of our population needs help.
Yeah, yeah. It does.
It needs
It
help.
does. It's funny. Earlier, we were talking about the blue light and the supercomputer in our hands, and all I could think was, this is so a you know downstream effect of the kind of westernized hustle culture. And I'd say westernized because it's the culture that that I live in. It's not that it can't exist elsewhere. It does exist here. And I know that from a personal standpoint. Like, I recognize it, I see it in people around me, where things like sleep become a an afterthought. They don't become something that is primarily understood in a real kind of visceral way to affect positive healthcare outcomes. And when I say healthcare, I'm not talking about going to a clinic or seeing a physician, just your health care, the care that you take of your health, and how incredibly important that is. So, I all I could think was, uh, cheap, easily accessible processed food, hustle culture. The supercomputer in my hand that keeps me from going to bed, hustle culture. The lack of seeing friends and family that fill my spoons, as it were, hustle culture. What am I missing because I'm worried about chasing a bag or chasing a goal, or instead of engaging in living in a real meaningful way.
Well, that's beautiful the way you say that. I love the way you say the care for your own health. All that changes when you hear that C word, right?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
of it changes. All the priorities change. Everything changes because now you start to think about the things you might miss out on,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So now you have a very, very finite quantity resource, which is time. Right? And in fact, actually, to be totally honest, before I came up with the whole C's ideas, they all came together. Is I always wanted to express and explore the importance of time for people
Yeah.
because that's essentially what we do,
No,
right?
we give people
We
time.
give
Yeah.
people time,
Hmm.
right? And so when people say, "Oh, Will, thank you for saving my life," well, it's like, well, I didn't really save your life. I just delayed your death. That's,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's pretty much what we did. But we bought people time, and we want to bring by them, as much, or we work hard to give them more quality time so that they can do the things they want to do.
Hmm.
And we just did an operation on someone who's been having abdominal pain for 2 or 3 years, and hopefully after her operation she'll feel better. You and I did an operation maybe almost a year ago in which this poor young man who was in his 30s had
Yep.
could
Yep.
not work anymore, had pain all the
I
time, was
remember
told
him
by
very
every single
distinctly.
doctor, and now he's thriving and
Hmm.
eating and working and starting to have goals and dreams again.
Hmm.
And it's amazing how people lose these things, and they lose not just a quality of life, but they lose things like ambition.
Yep.
They lose hope. And when you don't have ambition, you don't have hope. I mean, that's pretty bleak. And so the by just giving those things back to them, again, not knowing how long they'll live or anything like that, just by doing that little bit, I think we do a lot for people.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of priorities that I would like to continue to share with people, our audience,
Hmm.
but also to share with our patients, to
Hmm.
share with each other, to share with our colleagues, because this is what it is to kind of be human.
Yeah.
And especially nowadays in which things are so artificial, right? Artificial intelligence, artificial sweeteners, artificial whatever it is. Why not just get back to things that are real and simple and just get back to people
Yeah.
and get back to nature and get back to the things that really nourish us? Because we're told that this device, this app or whatever it is going to make your life better, but ultimately it doesn't. And that's what I'm trying to get away from and get back to.
Yeah. Now, it should be a tool. It should not be, it is not an end in and of itself. It is a means to other ends. And some of those ends are going to be things that sustain you from a monetary standpoint. Some of them are going to be fun. I have a couple of games on my phone. I'm a big gigantic gamer. I have computers but the best times that I have with them are all things that allow me to engage with other people
That
doing an
connection.
activity,
Yeah.
and it's the connection that really makes that important. Like, I remember going back and playing video games that I played with other people by myself. Like I went back and played them by myself, and there was nothing there. There was nothing of interest there. It was the connections that I made with those people that were so key to me having great experiences with that. So, like my wife's very, very funny and very difficult to buy gifts for, but not difficult to do things for. Like, if I say to her, "Hey, we're going to go to the mountains and we're going to do a spa day, and it's going to be me and you, and we're going to play one of my favorite games, Uncle, Dad, or Date, where we just look at people and ask, is that an uncle, a dad, or is that a date?" That I'm not sure, not 100% sure on that one. That is the perfect Christmas gift for her. If I had just written that in a card and said, that's what we're doing, and we're doing it on this date, that would have been wonderful. But if I ask her, what do you want for Christmas? And I want an object to be able to give to her, she's going to look at me and be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I would like an experience. I would like a thing that, uh, a thing that is not bound to a physical object. I would like an experience that like, I want a plane ticket. Get me, that's a thing that I want. A plane ticket to somewhere to do an adventure. That's that human connection that's so very, very
Well,
important.
I'll give you a contrast again, just because everyone's different. And I know your wife very, very well, and everything you said is 100% true.
Yeah.
And I'm like that, right? I don't have great value in like objects. However, my wife, for example, is an amazing gift giver. She really is, because she thinks very, very hard about the person, and she spends a lot of time thinking about finding the right things for them. Like we had just a wonderful Christmas just a few days ago because our family's together. It was the first time my son, he went to college, and this is the first time we had kind of been, broken apart just a little bit. And so when everyone was together, she just got all these amazing, thoughtful gifts for everyone. And so, and maybe the object itself, you're right, is not that important, but there's no question that you could see the thought and the care and the love that came with the gift. And
Hmm.
and again, that's really about that human connection.
Sure.
And again, just speaking about gaming, it was just so much fun for all five of us to play Trivial Pursuit the other day,
Sure. Sure.
just because we were together.
Yeah.
And you and I have been connecting our families because we started to learn to play cards.
Yeah.
The boys like to play poker. How
Yep.
fun was that, right?
Yep. That was awesome.
How great was that? It was great for my kids. It was great for your kids. And I think your son lost more money. I can't remember in the
No,
end.
this last session he actually came back with some cash.
Okay, he came
Yeah,
back with
yeah.
some cash. That's
We're
good.
talking about like, $4. We're not talking about a lot of money here,
Yeah,
folks. We're
that's
talking
okay.
about a 5-cent, 10-cent game.
Yeah, but that's an important $4, right? Because
I mean, money won is so much more enjoyable than
that's
money
exactly
earned,
right. Exactly.
and that's, I think,
But how fun was it to
part
see
of the
the
gambler's
kids
fallacy.
playing together,
That was great.
and we were chit
That was
chatting,
great. That was
connecting
absolutely
with
great.
it was really great. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Like, if we're talking about objects and human connections, I think your favorite object is probably your piano. Like I'd be remiss to think that you had something that you couldn't share with other people as much as you enjoy sharing music with us. Like, there's a reason that every single time there's a break in a day of surgery, you're like, no, let's go down to the foyer at PSL. Let's go let's hop on the piano. You're going to sing Rocket Man, William. And I look at you like, oh my God, not today. And you're like, yes, today.
That's more of a test for you.
I know.
A test of loyalty.
I know.
Right?
I know.
It's really, that's my way of controlling you, really.
I'd like, just ask me to put a clown wig and a nose on, all right, dude?
Right,
like,
I'll wear the glasses. It's okay. I'll wear the big Elton John glasses. And there's some truth. Actually, there's a lot of truth to what you have to say.
I know
yeah,
that.
there's a lot of truth to what you say. I mean, I like it because it's fun, but I also like it because it is a way of bringing people together and sharing people. Let me just tell you a quick story. You've heard the story before, but
all right, anecdote away, because we got to wrap this one up.
Exactly. Yeah. So, one day, it was several years ago. It was right before Christmas too, and I was on call at the hospital, and so I had to do some late operation, and we were waiting for the operating room to turn over, and I was with one of our friends, Dr. Chang. She's the anesthesiologist, and we were just waiting and waiting, and at 11 o'clock at night, there's not much to do, as you're waiting for to do surgery. So we went downstairs, and we started playing the piano and just kind of goofing around and just playing some songs for her. And there was this lady who was walking back and forth, and clearly she was pregnant.
Very pregnant.
Very pregnant, and was just trying to walk and just trying to deliver. And so she came over there and she sat with us for whatever, another half hour. And she told us that she was there all alone and that she was just going to have this baby all alone. But because we were there with her, it made it feel so much warmer and so much better. And, she had the baby obviously later that night.
Yeah.
But she said just by having someone that she could share something with in this time that she felt all alone was so meaningful to her. And, you never know who you're going to share things with, and you never know who you're going to touch, and you never know just by, I mean, what I do, we were just goofing around playing Elton John songs, right?
Yeah.
But for that person, it meant a lot. And so those are the kinds of things that I'm hoping that we can kind of accomplish with our podcast, because I don't know who's going to watch this. I don't know if anyone will watch this, but I hope people will watch it, and that we'll be able to help that person, and maybe they'll help that next person and the next person. And, this whole principle of paying it forward is real, right? So we do a little something here, and we can help someone in some way that we don't know about, and their lives will be a little bit better. And that's what we're trying to accomplish.
100%. What songs you play? Do you remember? Because I think Elton John's got one or two meaningful songs, and the rest of them it's all just crocodile rock.
Yeah,
it's just nonsense. I mean, it's fun nonsense, and I enjoy the heck out of it. But if you sang "Candle in the Wind" as she was walking by, and she was like, "This is such a beautiful song, thank you, Dr. Lou," that would be awesome. That'd be so great.
I don't think it was that dramatic. She was crying actually. She was crying actually at one point. But it wasn't because of the music.
Yeah.
It was just because of us.
Yeah.
I think I played Linus and Lucy.
Yeah.
I think something ridiculous like that. And I think I sang a song called it's an Elton John song. It's called, I guess that's why they call it The Blues.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah, it's a great song. And maybe one of our future podcasts, I'll tell you why I learned that song. And just whatever I just kind of had, and I just kind of goofing around, and it was fun. It was great to have her there. It was great to have Dr. Chang with us. It was just great, and it just meant a lot because Christmas was around, the baby was coming, and it was late at night, and it was just us.
Yeah.
And it was just that small moment. And as we all know, life is just created by all these little small moments, right? And so when I kind of feel like when the time is stolen from us because we're just death scrolling or whatever. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I like to watch the reels, and the little videos that people make are actually pretty amazing nowadays and very entertaining. But if you're doing that instead of connecting with people, and you're doing that instead of enriching yourself or learning a new skill or reading or whatever it is, or exercising or sleeping or eating and connecting, then I think that is time that's lost.
No, I would agree.
Stolen in some ways. And so those moments, if Dr. Chang and I were death scrolling the whole time, we would never had that moment.
Death scrolling.
Is that what it's called?
I think it's doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling. Excuse me. Doom scrolling.
Death scrolling. That
sounds even worse.
That's way more morbid. Yeah, that's very dark. Right. Doom scrolling has a sort of a down the road kind of a like death scroll, like you're like actively looking at morbid things.
No,
Like,
maybe yes. But doom scrolling.
doom
Yes, sure. Sorry.
scrolling. Yeah, yeah.
You young people nowadays.
I know, I know. Yes, yes.
Get off my yard.
I would say how old I am in relation to him, but I want you to continue to try to guess how old he is. I want you to guess because you're wrong. You're wrong. It's like 4 of you that know how old he is. Maybe.
But anyway, so again, it's all about these things, and
Yeah.
again, it's about the things that are real. Seas is real.
Seas is
People
real.
are real. Communication and being with people are real.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't even call people on the phone so much anymore.
No, it's a lot of texting.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And so those are the kinds of things I hope to accomplish with all the things that you and I and all of the blessed people that we've been blessed with
Mhm.
can hopefully help other people with.
Yeah, Healing Net and all the wonderful speakers who I'm hoping that we can eventually get on the podcast and get a deeper dive into each one of the programs. That's part of the plan for the podcast moving forward, is to make sure that not only is it you and I on a regular basis, but making sure that those subject matter experts that are really going to be able to weigh in really important and comprehensive manner can be here in some way, shape, or form, even if it's via Zoom call-ins or here sitting on the in the chairs. Uh, Eric,
Yeah.
thank you so very much for joining me today for the inaugural episode of the show. I think we've lined up exactly what it is that we're trying to do with Seas. I think we've got a general idea of what we want to do with this podcast. And on the next episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about our connection, where we come from, and what our backgrounds are, just to give you, our wonderful viewer and listener, exactly an idea of who we are and why we're doing what we're doing with the podcast and with the Greater Seas movement in general. Eric, thanks so much again for being here. I always love spending time with you. I feel really, really fortunate. Like I get to steal you for this podcast, but I also get like the most FaceTime out of anybody in your life that isn't directly related to you. Like my wife, who's your clinical nurse, will often lament, why is it so much easier for you to spend time with Eric? It's like, because he's a captive audience. I get to blackmail him with, if you're not here, I'll make incisions on this patient. Ha 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 ha. I'm not allowed to do that.
But in
I'm not
return,
allowed to do that.
you have to tell me jokes.
Oh God, I'm not telling.
That's the exchange,
Yeah,
friends.
that is the exchange.
And perhaps you too will share in that experience.
Eventually. All right. Thank you so much for joining us for the first episode of Seas Now. We've got a little bit of a info pop up that our engineer, who is my oldest boy, Brendan. Thank you so much, Brendan, for being here and helping us with the podcast today. It's going to pop that up on the screen right about meow. There it is. If you have or know somebody with neuroendocrine, you're looking for a little bit more information on it, the link just over to my that way somewhere, I can't tell where it is because I don't have a screen, we'll have the information for the Healing Net Foundation, which is the foundation that Dr. Eric Liu started along with Cindy Lovelace, is her name. How long ago was Healing Net founded?
I think 13 years ago.
13 years ago. 13 years ago. So they will have a ton of wonderful information. They're fantastic group of human beings, and they're one of the commissioners of this lovely, lovely podcast. So thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode.